Hello, everyone. I'm the storyteller, and I'm here to guide you today. I know many of you use this video to help you drift off to sleep, so before that happens, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, let me know where you're from and what time it is as you're watching. Now, get cozy and relax. The night was still, and the air was thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming jasmine. A gentle mist curled over the quiet meadow, drifting like the breath of a sleeping giant. Somewhere in the distance, an owl hooted, a soft, melancholic sound that seemed to ripple through the silence. Elias took slow, careful steps along the narrow path, his bare feet brushing against the cool, dew-laden grass. He did not remember how he had come to be here. The last thing he recalled was the weight of sleep pulling him into its depths, yet now, he was awake in a place he did not recognize. The sky above was vast and endless, a deep indigo stretching beyond sight, scattered with stars that shimmered like fragments of forgotten dreams. There was no moon, and yet, the land was bathed in a soft, silvery glow, as though illuminated by an unseen presence. He felt no fear, only a curious sense of peace, as though he had been here before, in another time, in another life. The mist swirled around him, whispering in a language he did not understand but somehow felt in his bones. He followed the path as it wound between tall, ancient trees whose leaves murmured secrets to the wind. As he walked deeper into the forest, the mist thinned, revealing a slow-moving river, its surface smooth and dark like polished obsidian. The water carried a faint glow, as though lit from within by the very stars that hung above. The gentle lapping of the current against the shore was rhythmic, a soothing lullaby sung by the earth itself. Kneeling by the river's edge, Elias dipped his fingers into the cool water. The moment his skin met the surface, a ripple spread outward, and with it, a soft voice echoed in his mind. "Welcome back, wanderer." He gasped, his eyes widening. The voice was neither near nor far, neither male nor female, it simply was. It resonated through him, deep and gentle, like the voice of an old friend long forgotten. "Where am I?" he whispered, more to himself than to the presence in the water. "Where you have always been," the voice replied. "Where you have never left." The river shimmered, and for a brief moment, he saw a reflection that was not his own. A figure stood there, watching him, a silhouette with eyes like twin moons. But before he could fully register the sight, the image dissolved into ripples once more. Elias rose to his feet and continued along the riverbank, drawn forward by an unspoken call. The trees around him began to change, their trunks glowing faintly, as if infused with golden light. Their branches hung low, and from them dangled hundreds of small lanterns, swaying gently in an unseen breeze. Each lantern flickered with a different hue, some a deep blue like the ocean at dusk, others a warm amber like the last rays of sunset. He reached out, touching one softly, and it flared brighter at his fingertips. For a moment, he could hear laughter, distant, familiar, comforting. He closed his eyes and let the warmth of the glow wash over him. It reminded him of something, a feeling he couldn't quite place. Home, perhaps? A place beyond memory, beyond time. Soft footsteps approached from behind, and he turned to see a woman standing there, her hair a cascade of silver threads that shimmered like the river. Her eyes held the depth of centuries, yet her smile was as gentle as the wind through the trees. "You have come far," she said, her voice a melody in the hush of the night. "But the journey is not yet complete." Elias felt no need to question her words. He simply nodded, knowing that whatever lay ahead, he would walk forward. The path led them to a bridge of woven light, suspended over a vast expanse of mist. It had no visible support, yet it stood firm beneath Elias' feet as he stepped onto it. Below, the mist churned, shifting in currents that whispered fragments of forgotten lullabies. "Is this a dream?" Elias asked, his voice barely more than a breath. The woman smiled but did not answer. Instead, she gestured toward the other side of the bridge, where a great archway loomed. Beyond it, the sky shimmered differently, as if it belonged to another world altogether. Elias hesitated, but only for a moment. Then, with slow, deliberate steps, he crossed. Each footfall felt lighter, as though the weight of the waking world was slipping away. By the time he reached the other side, he no longer felt the cold of the night, nor the dampness of the grass. He was weightless, carried by a current unseen, like the river, like the mist, like the stars themselves. The archway led him into a vast field of silver grass, stretching to the horizon. Above, the sky was a tapestry of shifting hues: violet, sapphire, rose gold, colors that had no name in the world he had known before. A single house stood at the center of the field, its windows glowing warmly. Elias felt an undeniable pull toward it. As he approached, the door opened soundlessly, revealing a room filled with books, paintings, and the scent of something familiar. Lavender, wood smoke, the air before a summer storm. A chair waited by the fireplace, and without hesitation, he sank into it. The warmth of the fire seeped into his bones, and for the first time, he felt truly at peace. A single thought drifted through his mind before sleep claimed him completely. I am home. The night was deep and velvet soft, wrapped in a hush that made the world feel weightless. A gentle mist rolled over the cobblestone streets, curling around lampposts like the breath of something ancient and unseen. Somewhere in the distance, a clock struck midnight, its chime echoing through the quiet town. A lone traveler walked slowly, his footsteps softened by the dampness of the air. His name was Oliver, though names seemed unimportant in a place like this. He had arrived without quite knowing why, drawn forward by an invitation he could not recall receiving. The road before him led to a grand structure, a hotel, its facade bathed in the soft glow of golden lanterns. The sign above the entrance read, Hotel Lemuria. A sense of familiarity settled over him as he stepped onto the porch. The doors swung open without a sound, and warm light spilled out, inviting him inside. The lobby was vast yet intimate, its walls lined with bookshelves and heavy drapes of deep blue velvet. A fire crackled in the grand fireplace, sending flickering shadows dancing along the ceiling. The scent of aged paper, spiced tea, and something faintly floral lingered in the air. Behind the polished mahogany counter, a woman stood with an unreadable smile. She was dressed in shades of dusk, her silver hair woven into intricate braids. Her eyes held the depth of 1,000 stories, yet they revealed nothing at all. "Welcome, Oliver," she said in a voice like a whisper of wind through old trees. "Your room is ready." He did not recall making a reservation. He did not recall knowing this place at all. Yet he felt no need to question. The warmth of the room, the quiet hum of its walls, and the way the world outside seemed to dissolve into mist. Everything was exactly as it should be. Oliver's footsteps echoed softly as he followed the woman down a long hallway. The hotel stretched far beyond what its exterior suggested, its corridors winding like whispered secrets. Each door they passed was different, some painted in muted pastels, others in deep mahogany. Some bore intricate carvings, while others were plain but carried the weight of unseen stories. The woman stopped before a door numbered 407. She handed him a brass key, its surface cool and smooth. "You will find what you need inside," she said simply. The door creaked open, revealing a room bathed in the soft glow of candlelight. A four-poster bed stood in the center, its covers inviting and crisp. Heavy curtains swayed slightly, though there was no wind. The walls were lined with paintings that seemed to shift when he wasn't looking directly at them. Landscapes melting into unfamiliar cities, portraits whose expressions softened when unseen. Oliver sat on the edge of the bed, exhaling slowly. He felt the weight of time loosen its grip, as if he were neither arriving nor departing, but simply existing in this place where days and nights blurred together. A clock on the wall ticked in perfect rhythm with his heartbeat. Outside, the sound of distant waves lapped against an unseen shore. Sleep pulled at him gently, like a tide drawing him towards something deep and unknown. And so, he let himself drift. When Oliver woke, the room was unchanged, yet the air carried a scent of fresh rain, though no storm had passed. The door stood slightly ajar, revealing a hallway bathed in twilight. He stepped outside, his bare feet meeting plush carpets that muffled his steps. The hotel had changed. Gone were the long, straight corridors. Instead, the halls twisted and curved, leading into spaces filled with candlelit lounges and libraries brimming with books that seemed to write themselves as he passed. A gentle murmur of distant conversation drifted through the air, though he saw no one. The ceilings were impossibly high, adorned with chandeliers that glowed with the light of 1,000 fireflies. Through an arched doorway, he entered a vast chamber where the sky stretched overhead, as if the stars themselves had been woven into the ceiling. Tables were set with delicate porcelain, cups steaming with something rich and fragrant. A grandfather clock stood at the center, its hands never moving past twilight. "You are in the Hall of Eternal Evenings," the woman's voice came from behind him. "Here, the night never ends, and time is as still as a reflection in quiet water." Oliver turned, finding her standing beside a grand piano, her fingers trailing along the keys but never pressing down. He felt as if he had lived in this moment before, though he could not place when. "How long have I been here?" he asked. She tilted her head slightly, considering. "As long as you need to be. No one leaves until they are ready." The words settled into his mind like a feather drifting onto still water. He should have felt unsettled, but instead, he felt only peace. As the days, or perhaps nights, passed, Oliver explored the quiet beauty of the hotel. There was a garden where lanterns floated among silver-leaf trees, a library where books hummed softly in their bindings, and a parlor where rain pattered against windows that led nowhere. Each evening, he returned to his room. And each night, his dreams took him further, across golden deserts, through forests where the trees whispered forgotten names, over cities lost to time. One night, as he sat by his window, he saw a door in the mist. It stood alone in the darkness, waiting. The woman's voice came softly. "When you are ready, you may go." Oliver hesitated. The thought of leaving was like waking from a dream he was not sure he wanted to end. But something deep within him stirred, a knowing that it was time. He stood, crossed the room, and stepped through the door. The mist swallowed him gently, like a lullaby at the edge of waking. And then, there was only silence. Somewhere, a clock struck midnight once more. The Hotel Lumiere stood as it always had, wrapped in the hush of night. The lanterns flickered, the hallways twisted and turned, and soft voices murmured in the distance. Another traveler would come, drawn by the same quiet pull. And the hotel would wait, as it always did, for those who needed it.